Hello, welcome to American Baker in Germany, where the ingredients are German and the baker is American. I'm Michelle. Today we're talking about something a little bit serious, and that is September 11th. As you know, we are coming up on the 20th anniversary of the attacks on the Twin Towers at September 11th, as well as the Pentagon and the flight that was stopped midway on its path. 4 flights, over 3,000 people who lost their lives. I am not trying to trivialize this in any way, shape, or form. What I want to do is to remember it. So I want to tell you my story. I was in college when this happened. I was in my second year at the university. I was studying at Colorado College. And at that particular college, they take one class at a time. So I specifically remember being in an intro to psychology class. And part of this class, we had a lab where we had to train a rat to do something and just observe its behavior. Anyway, as part of that, me and my lab partner split up the times when we would go and train the rat, because it had to be trained twice a day. So I decided that I would take the mornings because I'm more of a morning person than a night person, and so she would take the evenings. Because of that, I got up very early in the morning. I got up at 6 when normally class didn't start until 9. I woke up at 6 o'clock and I had my radio playing on the news for an hour before I left my apartment to go train the rat. So I was getting up, getting ready, just doing other things. I was listening to the news the whole time and I didn't hear anything. Now, Colorado is a 2-hour time difference from New York. So when this happened in New York, it was at 8:45, I believe, in the morning is when the first one hit. And so our time, it was 6:45. Now, of course, it didn't immediately hit the news. It took some time for it to get to the news. It was very quick, but it wasn't immediate. So it didn't hit the news at 6:45. It hit the news at our place around 7:15. At that point, I was no longer listening to the radio. So I had, without even thinking about anything was wrong in the world, I went to our lab to train the rat, and I was happily training this little white rat with cereal, and in comes a lab assistant. And his first question to me was, "Have you heard?" And since I had been listening to the news all morning, I said, I don't know what you're referring to, but I'm sure I've heard about it since I didn't hear the news this morning. And then he's like, "Oh, okay, what do you think about what happened?" And I said, "Okay, you lost me. Okay, what are you talking about?" And it took me like 3 times of 3 different people saying it to me for me to understand what happened. I'm not sure why it took me so long. I think I was in some sort of denial, but they would say to me, "Oh, there was a plane crash in New York." Like, that's the first thing I heard, and I was like, "Oh, well, like, was it like upstate New York?" I mean, this is what I was thinking, because New York is big, so it's not like my first thought would be it would hit a building. My first thought was it went down in a field somewhere or something. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Was anyone hurt? I mean, are they okay?" They're like, "Well, no, like, lots of people are dead. Like, I don't know how many." And I was like, "Okay." Like, I didn't quite grasp it. And then somebody else came in and said, "Have you heard?" And I'm like, "Okay, I think I need to hear the story from the beginning. Just tell me, what is it you want to tell me?" They said, "A plane crashed into a building in New York." And then I was like, "Oh, well, that's horrible. Like, like, is it okay? Like, what happened?" And I did not grasp it completely. We went to class at 9. Our teacher, professor, sat down and told us that he was very affected by what happened and that he would like to send us all home to go watch the news. Because something like this is something that we all need to understand and process, and we will meet again tomorrow, maybe. And then I knew it was very serious. So I went back to my apartment, turned on the TV, and I just watched the news for hours. and hours and hours. I tried to get some of my homework done. I couldn't really get much done. I also thought of a friend of mine who I knew lived in Manhattan. I knew he didn't work at the Twin Towers, but I didn't actually know where he did work, and I didn't know how affected he would have been by this. Maybe he worked nearby, I wasn't sure. So I tried to contact him, but of course all of the lines were down for days, weeks. In the end, no one I knew was killed. But it was something that very deeply affected me, and it deeply affected everyone. So those people who did not live in the United States at the time, as I did, I want you to know that this was something very unifying for our country. This was something that all of us were flying flags and saying we want to support the United States in recovering from this, because it is terrifying. It is grieving, and it is senseless, and it was absolutely random, and we recognize that. Every one of us knew that could have been me. And that moment of feeling that could have been me in that building resonated with the entire country, and we were all behind each other. And that unity that brought was absolutely more powerful than anything else. But this cake is a memorial. It's a memorial to those who lost their lives, those whose lives changed forever. And the entire city of New York changed forever. The entire country changed forever, let's be honest. There were so many people affected by that. So I wanted to share my own feelings with you and let you know, and all of those who were directly affected, we will never forget. I will never forget.